Good morning, good people. Yeah, you know what it is. Hard worker, scrappy, unfiltered, and sometimes unhinged football content. Hard to explain, but you know it when you see it. Doing it daily our way. I don't know what you're talking about right now. Redraft and Dynasty Fantasy Football, we got you covered. You know their defense is ranked like 31st in the NFL? NFL draft prospects and rookies? Now you know you in the right place for that.
Absolutely.
All right, then stop saying it. Then we're done. And prop bets with my man JRich. Count that money, man. Now wipe the crust out of your eyes. Get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake your ass up with Ray G. You honestly are making absolutely no sense and you sound silly as hell. GMGP. It is Friday, December 15, 2023. We are almost done. NFL almost over. The college football season is over. The year almost coming to an end, baby, but I appreciate y'all waking y'all asses up. What's going down with you, Damon, Gump, Eric Bryan in the building, Dynasty Rehab, Jimbo. What's happening with you, Jimbo? 7 Goat Rings, Thomas, Johnny Lilycrab, Hunter Joe Green, Dominic, Long Beach native, Sean, Alex, Dylan. Yeah, man, the Raiders were juiced up last night, 63 points. JRich, the narrative in the streets, Jay. Take out all your Raiders. Take out all your Chargers. The game is going to stink. They were talking about nothing but field goals last night. 63 freaking points by the Raiders, Jay. What a freaking game. If you started any Raider for the most part, you're in good shape. You started Adams, you're good. Jacoby Myers scored. Who's the tight end? What's his name? Michael Mayer, he scored. Everybody scored in the damn game. 63 freaking points. Chargers 21. And Brandon Staley somehow, JRich, still has a job. Appreciate y'all being in. We are talking Week 15 fantasy starts, going through some of the games, talking about the top storylines, hitting y'all with some news and notes and some other good stuff. But some things that y'all may have missed if you're tapping in live for the first time. Appreciate y'all giving us some time early in the morning. Y'all know what we like to do. Like to provide some actionable content, but damn it, we're going to entertain you. It's early in the morning. It's Friday. It's early. We're going to make sure we have a good time today. And if you missed anything on the channel that dropped yesterday, dropped a new Trinity video. It's been a minute. But Trinity Report, 23 rookies taking a look at what they've done, who you should probably try to invest in moving forward, and who you might need to tear off of a little bit using the Trinity score over on the website, destinationdevy.com. Check that out. And Jay, I don't know if you got a chance to catch this one right here by Scott and I, the Dynasty Forecast, the startup show. I'll just say I think this was a very good one, a very good conversation about where Scott Connor and I project some of these dynasty startup drafts to look like here in the next couple of months when startup season is upon us. It's a good episode. I highly recommend you go back, check this one out, listen to it on the channel, hit the thumbs up button, all that good stuff. And then all of the other content that's dropped on DD, on the website, on the podcast feed. Make sure y'all tap into every single thing that we're doing when everybody else is winding down because the fantasy season is over. We just getting heated up, baby. JRich, how you doing this morning, man? I'll bring you to the stage. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. I'm good. That was a phenomenal intro. I have nothing to add.
Okay.
But when you popped on the screen, I really wanted your hat to say Dallas Buyers Club. Like, really, really badly. For everyone who can't see, it said Dallas Players Club.
Dallas
and I was like, man,
Club,
if that
baby.
said Dallas Buyers Club, that would be hilarious.
Dallas
but it is a great hat, though.
Club. Thank you. I like this hat. It's a good hat. It's a good hat, Jay. But we got a lot to talk about. We got 3 games on Saturday, bunch of games on Sunday. We got some dope primetime games. We're going to talk some prop bet and all that other good stuff. We're going to have a good time this show. Let's go ahead and just get into the news, Jay. You want to do it?
Yes, sir.
Let's go.
The biggest news in the world of sports. Covered and brought to you by one man, Jordan Richards. This is Straight Facts.
So a little bit lengthier today, but there is some good news and a little bit of bad news as far as injuries go and some of the things that are happening this week. Chris Olave has not practiced this week. He is dealing with an ankle injury, but we did get the return of Rashid Shaheed and Taysom Hill. So the Saints offense, whether it looks better or worse, I mean, it's probably going to look worse. Nick Underhill did not seem too optimistic knowing that Chris Olave may not play. I was watching him do his show at NewOrleans.football talking about this injury, and he said if Chris Olave is out, he actually expects the Saints to lose this game. So take that with a grain of salt, but that's just what he said. He's probably the most reputable Saints reporter in the business. So for him to say that was definitely concerning. He obviously is not very optimistic about this offense, but Taysom Hill and Rashid Shaheed are back, and Chris Olave potentially could be out. Ray, your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown is apparently going to be getting the ball in different ways this week. Jared Goff told reporters that they're going to try and find ways to get Amon-Ra the ball in different ways.
What are they
I don't know what
talking
that
about?
means.
I mean,
I thought they already had to get him the ball in different ways because he's not the best when it comes to getting the ball and opening things up for himself, creating plays down the sidelines. So I don't know what that means. Maybe he's going to be run some reverses, some screens. But yeah, 2 down weeks for Amon-Ra in a row. They're going to try and find ways to get him more involved with the offense. We'll see what they do. I wouldn't say I'm too optimistic against the Broncos, who are one of the best teams in the NFL against wide receivers. Your boy, Darren Waller, Ray, has been designated to return, so he could be back this week. He did get a limited practice in yesterday, but he's not necessarily going to return this week. He was hopeful and talked about it last week. He has been designated for return, so all the steps are in place potentially for him to come back for the Giants. They obviously need him if they want to make that push for the playoffs. I'm sure Tommy DeVito would appreciate it, but no indication as to whether or not he will be back for sure this week. Devon Achane has not practiced for the past 2 days, and Mike McDaniel said that his availability is unknown, which is not great. Tyreek Hill as well has not practiced the past 2 days, but I don't think anyone expected him to. Probably will play, but as far as Achane is concerned, it doesn't seem likely that he's going to be playing this week, unfortunately, but it's great if you have Raheem Mostert. Another guy who's probably not playing this week is Isaiah Pacheco. The Kansas City Chiefs running back has not practiced yet, so it's been almost 2 weeks since he practiced, so he's probably not going to play this week against the Pats either. We'll see if anything changes today, but no practices for him Wednesday or Thursday. Jonathan Taylor, you have Nico Collins in with his calf injury and CJ Stroud with the concussion. Neither has practiced. Stroud has not cleared concussion protocol either. So still a lot of hurdles for those guys to play on Sunday against I'm pretty sure they play, the Tennessee Titans. Cardinals wide receiver Marquise Brown has returned to practice, so he is going to be playing this week against the 49ers. Alexander Madison has been ruled out. A.J. Dillon suffered a broken thumb, but has not been ruled out. So against the Giants, suffered a broken thumb, but he potentially is going to try and play this week. Aaron Jones did practice both Wednesday and Thursday, so he will be back. Christian Watson, not expected to play. He is probably going to be out. Aaron Rodgers, Ray, limited practice yesterday. They have until the end of next week to activate him. I'm just saying. I'm just reporting the news. He is apparently practicing. Limited practice yesterday in terms of the reports. Brian Robinson did not practice yet this week. Probably going to miss week 15. And Broncos tight end Greg Dulcich is also going to be missing this week. But that is pretty much it as far as injury news. And as you mentioned,
Dulcich
3 games on Saturday.
Greg Dulcich has been missing all season. So the fact that he's not going to play week 15.
In case anyone wanted to start him,
in case anybody wanted to start him, he has done absolutely nothing all season. So, yeah, good job, Greg Dulcich. Good stuff with the news, Jay. I don't think you missed anything. And, yeah, the Devon Achane news is unfortunate. I will say that. It's a little concerning for you that this ultra-talented, ultra-efficient, freaking fantasy superstar when he's on the field has already been banged up multiple times this season. Does that concern you at all?
I wouldn't say it concerns me that much. I think this is kind of what you should have expected when you drafted the guy. Not that he's going to be hurt all the time, but he was a very volatile asset, whether it's the highest of ceilings and the lowest of floors. And so for a guy who you drafted late first round, I think he's returned pretty good value still for you. So he's not a guy to be necessarily selling. Is he overvalued at times throughout the year? Of course. But, I mean, this is kind of what we expected for a dude who was a little bit undersized and not a guy that we expected to be a bell cow. Is it unfortunate he's hurt? Of course. But I think this is what you're getting with a player like this. And this is why people stay away from players that don't necessarily meet the size requirements at running back, because these things tend to happen. But we could also see a blow-up season from Achane and not be overly surprised either.
You just straddled the fence. Are you concerned or not? He's freaking little.
I'm not
been
concerned,
banged up all
no.
year. Okay, so there's no long-term. You're just as bullish long-term. Top 5 dynasty running back. You're good.
I'm not saying he deserves to be that high, but I think you should know what you're getting. And when he's healthy, he's good. And when he's obviously not, what are you going to do?
Well, let's talk about the Raiders-Chargers game for a little bit. 21-63, and the Raiders fans are out in full force in the chat. What's going down? Raiders fans, what's going on? Sonic Boom. I'm late, but Raiders, baby. That's right. My Las Vegas Raiders put foot in the LA Chargers, baby. 63-21, Jay. Aiden O'Connell, league winner. Aiden O'Connell, 4 touchdown passes for AOC. last night. I mean, he was spreading it around. Everybody got involved. Zamir White, Bell Cow White, 17, 69 yards, 1 touchdown. Devontae Adams, 12 targets. Trinity goodness right there. 12 targets for Devontae. Bro, they got the ball up 40 points, and they were still throwing it. Adams got one more cheap catch late in the game.
Just ridiculous.
8 for 101. Trey Tucker had 2 touchdowns. Jacoby, Michael Mayer, everybody scored. Scoring bonanza for the Raiders on the other side of the ball. QJ, listen, I talked about him in the Trinity Report yesterday. This is a player that I know the fantasy community hates, but I'm not all the way out on QJ. I don't think he's going to be... Oh, man, you can't. Like, trust the data. Trust the data, trust the Trinity, and what he's done each and every week. Go watch the video. It gives you a little bit of optimism that there could be something there next season. Is he going to be a fantasy superstar? Is he going to be the next Jamar Chase? Probably not. But can he be a usable asset that the Chargers still throw the ball to this season and next season? I think there is a case. Like, remove the fantasy jokes aside, he's still getting opportunity in the offense at a little bit, right? At a little clip, but it's slowly progressing in a more positive trend and direction than it was earlier this season. Josh Palmer was about the only thing from the offensive skill position players that did anything, and that was on the back of, I believe, a 70, 80-yard touchdown catch that he had, I believe, sometime in the third quarter. The running backs did nothing. Isaiah Spiller bell-cowed it up with 16 rush attempts for 50 yards. Austin Eckler, 5 for 9 and 4 catches for no yards for Austin Eckler. Easton Stick was pretty bad the entire night, Jay, but he finished with 257 and 3. So if you had him in best ball, you feel good about it. Any other takeaways from this game? I'm just like, damn, if Josh Jacobs would have played, he probably would have smashed in this matchup right here. Anything to take away from this one? And does Antonio Pierce deserve a little more credit to be that head coach of the future, you think?
I think he does a little bit for sure. And people have talked about how when the Raiders had Rick Bisaccia as their head coach, once they fired John Gruden, they should have retained him as well. And so I think there is a case now for Antonio Pierce to kind of rally this team a little bit to have him. The only issue really is then how do you handle the quarterback development should they go that route in the draft, right? Because typically when you want to bring in a new quarterback, you want to bring in a new coach to help mentor, groom, help that quarterback acclimate to the NFL. And I don't know if Antonio Pierce is going to do that or not. Maybe they just bring in an OC instead. But in terms of takeaways, I mean, what is there to take away? I believe per Adam Schefter, this is the second biggest turnaround from being shut out the week before to being scoring this week. It was like 63 points. Obviously, they scored none last week. Second most, I think, since 1924 when the Philadelphia Eagles did it. Absolutely ridiculous turnaround. Jacoby Myers throwing touchdowns, but I mean, do I trust the Raiders next week to score points? Absolutely not, right? Like, this doesn't change my outlook for them. It's still just Josh Jacobs when healthy.
Chargers quit.
Of course they quit.
They quit. Keenan Allen didn't want to play. They quit on that team. They quit on Brandon Staley. I didn't see any of the players talking to the coach, standing by they quit on Brandon Staley. I'm surprised he still has a job right now. I am surprised that he is still the head coach of the LA Chargers. This team, Jay,
Chargers just too cheap to fire him. That's all it is.
And moving forward, they want to get every penny's worth, right? You're going to finish out this season.
They don't want to pay someone else to fill the role because it's going to cost them money, right?
Unreal that their ownership group is as cheap as they are. And I just want to be clear, Joe, you're my girl. It ain't a good Trinity for QJ. The Trinity score,
I thought it was like the worst ever.
No, it's not anymore. Go check the tracker. It's been updated for like 13 weeks, JRich. It's not the worst ever, and it's not good, but it is improving weekly, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for some improvement to say if somebody's giving this kid away in a league, I'm seeing him move multiple fourth-round picks, late playoff third. I'd take a shot. I would just take a shot. So just watch the video, check out the episode. But yeah, the Raiders, 63 points, good for LV, baby. We needed that win. That was big for the city, even though they cleared out the stadium a little bit after the third quarter, Jay. But we got a lot of stuff happening this weekend, Jay. And I want to start this off talking about a couple of the Saturday games. We talked about this yesterday on Bleacher Report. And these are the Saturday matchups are big playoff implications, all three games. Vikings, Bengals, Steelers, Colts are currently locked into the 6-7 seed. The Broncos vying for that wild card spot. The Lions, 9-4, they're trying to hang on as well, right? Jockeying for playoff positioning. And then the Minnesota Vikings are currently in the playoffs, I believe, as a 6th seed right now, going up against Cincinnati on the road. They're right in the thick of it as well. Is the AFC North going to get 2 teams in the playoffs? 3 teams in the playoffs? I highly doubt it, but all 3 of these games are massive playoff implications, Jay. So let's just talk about the Saturday matchups really quickly. Vikings-Bengals, you got a brand new starter in Nick Mullins. You got Jake Browning coming back. I know there's a little bit of news. Jamar Chase banged up, may or may not. Not sure about.
Yeah, he's good to
go. Jamar Chase is good to go. You got Joe Mixon
full on Thursday, so he's good.
Justin Jefferson, you know he ain't going to miss a matchup against his best friend, right? He wants to outduel Jamar Chase. What are your thoughts, and how do you think this game is going to play out? Fantasy studs from this game, and I'm just going to ask you, this is go-get-it time. There is no comeback after this week. Jordan Addison, how good are you feeling about putting him in to a flex spot? Chai Chandler, how good do you feel? Like, honestly, I don't want to talk about Jamar Chase. I don't want to talk about Justin Jefferson. We're not going to talk about Joe Mixon either. Like, those guys, you're going to start those. If Jefferson is active, you're starting him. Chase, you're starting him. Mixon, you're starting him. What are we doing with Ty Chandler, Jordan Addison, T. Higgins? What are we doing with those assets from this game quickly, Jay?
So the biggest thing here is Cincinnati, right? Their defense is still terrible. They still allow a ton of points, whether it's the quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers. I believe they allowed the most explosive plays in the NFL, period. So there will be plays to be made, but am I trusting Jordan Addison to get the ball? The answer is still no. With Jefferson back, with Hawkinson there, I do believe that Nick Mullins can provide more fantasy value, especially through the air, than Josh Dobbs can. The issue is do I trust that third option in the offense if it's not Kirk Cousins? And early on, it was basically touchdown or bust for Addison. He was scoring a lot of touchdowns, but if it's for a few days.
I don't think T. Higgins is, I mean, you're going to start him, but I don't know, man.
So the reason why I like him is while I am a little bit nervous about Browning because he's going to get blitzed 50% of the time, maybe more than that, right? We know that Flores is going to light him up, but Higgins is usually the guy who's running down the field as the quick outlet who can make a play for the offense, right? That's kind of his role. Even though Chase is a great deep threat, they design plays a bit more for Chase, and it's Higgins who runs down the sideline, and if everything breaks down, they throw it to him because Chase is probably being double covered. So I think that's where you could see a big game potentially from him is with these elaborate blitz packages, that come frequently. Higgins could be the outlet for that. Again, is the volume going to be there? Probably not. But he is a guy that we trust to make a play down the field, and maybe he only has 2 catches for 80 yards, but we would probably be okay with that if that happened.
Okay. All right. So you still want to start T. Higgins. Everybody keeps asking about the running back Chase Brown. What are we thinking about Chase Brown this week? I don't want to particularly start him in a lineup league.
Yeah, that's tough.
I'm not.
You'd have to have really good roster construction because I think he'll be involved, right? We saw it last week. He's probably going to be involved, but you don't want to bank on a player who's only getting 8 touches in a game, 10 touches in a game.
And that's not Devon Achane. So I'm not going to bank on those 8 or 10 touches being ripped off for 50-yard screen passes. Ty Chandler or Chase Brown?
I would start Ty Chandler 100% because I think he can do similar things, if not be better in the receiving game, and should see primary rushing duties as well.
Yeah,
I actually like Chandler this week. He's a guy that, deep flex, definitely viable. He's a starting running back for the team. Nick Mullins is going to sling it, but they're going to need to run the ball as well. And if he falls in the end zone for a rushing touchdown, then that would probably make his day quite good. So I think the passing volume could be there through the air, and then obviously going to be the primary rusher as well.
And really quickly, Jake Browning this week. And let's just talk about the Saturday games. You've got, 3 games? You got 3 games on Saturday. So rank where you would have Jake Brown amongst Gardner Minshew, Mitchell Trubisky, Nick Mullins, Russell Wilson. Where would you start him? You're looking at the Saturday matchups, right? I think I would trust Jake Browning to throw the ball and be a little more successful than Mullins. Minshew, Trubisky, Russell Wilson. He's not throwing the ball a lot. On that Saturday slate, he's probably like QB2 on that list, man, behind Jared Goff. And shit, if you think the Broncos defense on the road is gonna cause problems for Detroit, he might be the best quarterback fantasy-wise on the Saturday slate.
So that's a great conversation because in my head, I was at 2 or 3. I think Russell Wilson is probably first playing in the Dome in Detroit.
No, they don't throw it. They don't throw the ball enough, man. They don't want to do that.
But neither did Jake Browning. Jake Browning was hyper efficient last week, so we can't forget that. right?
Okay.
Minnesota's defense is still pretty good. So you're saying Nick Mullins is going to be the guy who's not going to be as good as Browning, but if he's probably going to see the volume because he's probably going to throw the ball 35 times. If Browning isn't efficient in his 25 throws, then he may not be that great. So I'm tempted to put him around 3.
Is not good though. They're not a good
but
defense.
They're gonna blitz him though, so he can make mistakes, and that's the problem. Is their defense? People say they're a bad defense, but they really have turned things around a lot. And you talk about points to quarterbacks, 28th in the NFL since week 10. So they're only allowing 11.6 a game right now.
Okay.
So they have been good. They've been much improved. We talk about the Denver turnaround, very similar for the Minnesota Vikings. They'll keep blitzing. Flores going to put the pressure on. So again, Browning, I want to put him at 2 or 3, but it's another tough matchup. So I'm tempted to put Russ up there. I do like Mullins in the matchup. And then I think you're looking at Goff and Browning as your 2-3. I just don't really like Minshew, and TJ Watt cleared protocol. So Minshew's day is going to be hell.
Well, let's talk about it. Well, let's talk about that game. A good segue. We got the Steelers and the Colts on Saturday as well. This opened up with a 41-point total in this game. It has been moved up a point, 42.5, with the Colts favored by 1.5 points, even money pretty much, minus 110 on each side of that. Jay, we've got Minshew versus Mitchell Trubisky. So let's just get through this players that you're 100% unequivocally starting without thought. Michael Pittman Jr., you're firing up Michael Pittman Jr. No questions asked, right?
100%.
No questions asked. Michael Pittman Jr. is being fired up.
You done now? Is that it?
100%.
Is that it?
Zach Moss, you're starting him again. You are firing up Zach Moss.
No, why would you start Zach Moss against Pittsburgh's defense?
Because who else do you have? It's so Jay, the running back
Najee
position,
Harris,
man.
Jalen Warren.
I'm thinking
they
about
have a way better
too.
matchup.
I know
they're a way better matchup.
I was going to say Najee. I'm starting Najee and Warren as well. I think those two. You have to run Najee and Jalen Warren out there. There are no other receivers from the Pittsburgh side of the ball that I feel comfortable starting. Jay,
Deontay.
I don't feel comfortable starting him. I'm not saying you're benching him. I'm not saying you're benching him. I would like to get through some of the other matchups to see if there are other options. I just want to see if there are other options, Jay, before I lock in a Mitchell Trubisky pass catcher. I'm being real, man. This concerns me, even though Indianapolis's defense is not good. This should be a plus matchup for Pittsburgh. Jay, but it's Mitchell freaking Trubisky at quarterback, man. Sell me on it, baby. I don't know if I can do it.
Ray, I can't sell you on old Mitch Trubisky. Not possible, right? It's just not happening. But yeah, Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, number 2 matchup this week in terms of against for running backs against an opposing team. The only guy with a better matchup is Kyron Bell Cow Williams. So you can definitely fire up your Najee. And I think Jalen Warren just comes down to will Mitch get him the ball in the passing game and how much rushing work does he get? It's a great matchup. I don't love Warren. I'd prefer Najee because I just like the fact that he's going to get probably 15 carries in this game. But it is a great matchup for both guys, and I do like both guys. But yeah, Zach Moss, not really feeling him. Pittsburgh's still great. And then people were asking about TJ Watt in concussion protocol. He was in concussion protocol after the Thursday game. I believe he went in on Friday. He has cleared already, though, so he's good to go. He returned to practice.
I see right here our boy, our DFS and betting expert, Mitch Carl, in the building. He said alpha male first name for Trubisky. Maybe if it was Mitch Carl at quarterback, who's been on a freaking 100%. Betting heater. If it was Mitch Carl, I would start my Steelers because
Deontay Pickens.
I don't know if Mitch is going to join us for the Buffalo Dallas segment, if he's going to jump on later, but that dude is on fire right now. So if it was that Mitch at quarterback, I'm riding with Pittsburgh. With Mitch Trubisky, not so much, Jay. But in all fairness, I do think Zach Moss is definitely one of the players that is on the radar to start. We're not ruling him out. Najee Harris, Jalen Warren. I don't want to start George Pickens. I don't want to start Deontay Johnson. Maybe Pat Freiermuth. Maybe. I just don't feel good about Mitchell Trubisky on the road against Indianapolis. I just don't, Jay. I'm sorry. I don't feel good about it. We'll see how this one plays out. So Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, and then we round this thing out on Saturday night, Jay, with the Lions and the Broncos, which should be a good game. 47.5 point total in this one, with Detroit favored by 4.5 at home, JRich. 4.5 points.
Okay.
The books are saying that Detroit. Interesting line here. We kind of touched on Amon-Ra St. Brown and them getting the ball in his hands multiple ways. Let's talk about the players that we're not going to talk about. Amon-Ra St. Brown, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, all auto fire starts. Sam Laporta as well. Those are your 4 auto starts from Detroit. On the Denver side of the ball, Cortland Sutton, Javonte Williams, auto start both of those players.
Jerry Jeudy?
Oh, man. Oh, man.
I actually do like Jerry Jeudy in the matchup. The matchup is good. The matchup is good. And the main reason why is because over the middle, Detroit's very susceptible to tight ends. They have been all year. They're ranked 28th this week against tight ends. But the thing is, they don't have any tight ends of consequence in Denver. So the players who run over the middle, probably more likely than not, is going to be Jerry Jeudy. So it's not a bad matchup when you talk about that perspective. In terms of quarterbacks, Denver has the 4th best quarterback matchup. For wide receivers, it's 4th best as well. 4 to 2 points allowed. Detroit allows 2 opposing wide receivers. And as I mentioned, they're great, or they're bad against tight ends as well. So it's a great matchup indoors. I think the total is a little high, right? Because Detroit's not playing very well, and I don't necessarily believe that Denver's going to put up a ton of points, probably play more ball control, and that's how they're going to play the offense. But I do believe there is a world where Jeudy could be fantasy viable this week, even though it doesn't always seem like that's the case. There is definitely going to be opportunity potentially for Jerry Jeudy to thrive in this matchup against the Detroit Lions. And if there is that many points, I think he can put up a pretty good fantasy performance. I'm not saying that I love it because I was off him last week, but this week it's not that bad.
I'm going to put feet to fire here. Jerry Jeudy, right. Deontay Johnson.
Jerry Jeudy.
Man. I don't know if it's pretty easily. I have little confidence in Jerry Jeudy, man. I'm just going to tell you, everybody else in here, I have little confidence in Jerry Jeudy because he gets opportunities, can't keep his feet in bounds, doesn't catch the ball, running the run. I just have little confidence. He feels like he just can't get right. Just can't get right no matter what he does. But yeah, I trust Russell Wilson a hell of a lot more than I trust Mitchell Trubisky. So with that being said, these 2 quarterbacks in this matchup, Russ, Jared Goff, Jay. Goff's got a tough matchup against this Denver defense. So of those 2 quarterbacks, which one do you have more faith in? Russell Wilson, Jared Goff?
100% Russell Wilson. 100%. I think you can make the case for Goff.
You are all in on these Broncos. You love you some Broncos.
It's a great matchup. It's indoors, right? We talk about in December, what's the best thing we can have? A game in a dome, right? Where there's not any weather concerns, where there's no wind, there's no snow, there's no this or that.
Shane must hate Jerry Jeudy. Never Jerry Jeudy. Shane says, I can't.
And then we talk every week about how he doesn't get the snaps, he doesn't run the routes, and that's 100% true. But if there's an opportunity for a big total indoors where there's less concerns about the ball being slightly overthrown, underthrown, or changing trajectory in the air and confusing Jerry Jeudy so he's not in the right spot to catch the ball, like, this is a great spot for everybody involved, and I think for Detroit, it's a get-right game. So while I do slightly prefer Russell Wilson, if you believe that Jared Goff will be great, I mean, he's playing indoors, he's playing at home, that's where he thrives, right? It's on the road, outside, where he really struggles, so it could be a big game for both quarterbacks this week.
All right, Jay, another massive game for 2 teams that have strong playoff implications, and I wouldn't believe that the damn Chicago Bears would be vying for a playoff spot at this juncture of the season. But the Bears and the Browns, Jay, I am very intrigued by this game for a multitude of reasons. One, the Cleveland Browns look like they've had the best quarterback they've had in the building since Derek Anderson's been there and Joe Flacco. Surprise, surprise. And they are moving the ball down the field. Amari Cooper's doing stuff in the offense. Elijah Moore's getting involved. Chief Njoku's looking like a top 5 damn tight end right now, the way that he's playing. Jerome Ford being activated in the receiving game as well as on the ground. And Kareem Hunt is still flex-worthy in some deeper formats. So you look at the Browns. This is a team, Jay, I think can make serious playoff noise. You talked about it yesterday on Bleacher Report. They are a dark horse sleeper Super Bowl caliber team for you if you had to pick one from the AFC. And then on the Chicago side of the ball, say what you want about Fields and is he going to be there long term? The past couple of weeks, there have been more questions about it because he's played better football. He's played better football to get people to think, well, if you put a tackle around him and you get a wide receiver, maybe. And I'll just say this, blame Scott Connor, not me. Blame Scott Connor, not me. But there are some swirling rumors about old Caleb Williams in Ohio State. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just saying. They may not have an option to draft Caleb Williams. Who knows? But on the Chicago side of the ball, DJ Moore a little banged up. How's he going to fare against this defense? You're looking at it. Who you feel comfortable starting? Justin Fields. I'm going to say Deontay Foreman. You're firing up DJ Moore. Cole Kmet, Amari Cooper, Njoku, Ford, Amari Cooper, Joe Flacco. There's a lot of fantasy points that can be scored in this matchup, Jay.
There's a lot of fantasy points, but not the best when you talk about matchups like Cleveland right now and Joe Flacco facing in Chicago. I've been telling people, Ray, for weeks now, Chicago's defense is actually good. Like, it's better than the Cleveland defense right now. 10.7 fantasy points per game allowed since week 10, Ray. That's 40% below average. Like, that is ridiculous. Like, there is no reason to believe that if Joe Flacco doesn't score touchdowns, he's going to be able to volume his way to fantasy relevancy. I think that he could really struggle in this game because everyone now is all on Joe Flacco. He's the savior. He's the guy who's going to take the Browns to the promised land.
Best quarterback they've had in a decade.
Best quarterback they've had since Baker Mayfield, since Derek Anderson. Since Derek Anderson. Who knows, man? They've had so many damn quarterbacks since Josh Dobbs back in 2017, right? Like, but it could be a tough week. The key for them is to keep the ball on the Raiders,
but neither here nor there. Go ahead.
They need to keep the ball on the ground. Kareem Hunt, Jerome Ford, any running back there, that is their key to success. And I think when we talk about both offenses, that's how they're going to need to win. It's going to be an ugly game probably. There's going to be a lot of running. Flacco will throw the ball, but it's not the best situation for them in terms of the matchup and how they're going to win because that defense is going to get after him. And obviously, he's a statue back there. He's going to get sacked. He could turn the ball over, so they could struggle. On the Chicago side, I'm fine if you want to start Kmet, Moore, Foreman. They're all going to be fine options, obviously Fields as well, because while the matchup isn't great, you trust Fields to run the ball, give you a nice floor in fantasy football.
Yes.
But on the Cleveland side, like, it's really just Amari Cooper and maybe the running backs if you have to.
Let me tell you the prop to bet from this game. Jerome Ford's receptions. Just take it. It's going to open up at 1.5, 2.5. Jerome Ford's receptions, take it, Jay. I'm with you, though. I think you start Fields, you start Foreman, Kmet, DJ Moore, other side of the ball. And here's the thing. The total for this one is 38.5 with Cleveland favored by 3. So it's not like they've got Chicago or Cleveland scoring a bunch of points. But every time we think seems like they've been pretty off with these total scores for a while. So we'll see how this one plays out. We've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to Green Bay, Jay, to face off against those Packers who are 6-7 and the Bucs 6-7. 42.5 point total in this one. 34 degrees. Going to be a cold one. Talk about your boy, Jordan Love,
My
Jay.
boy.
Your boy, Jordan Love.
So obviously we love Jordan Love and he's a great quarterback, but the matchup for both guys is pretty neutral. I do like him at home though. He's played much better at home, especially in recent weeks, obviously coming off a bad game against the Giants. But for fantasy football, we don't necessarily care about the results, whether they blew the game, should have won it, this, that, or the other. The issue really it comes down to is Christian Watson. It feels like whenever he doesn't have Christian Watson, he really struggles. And while Jaden Reed has a phenomenal matchup this week, and we do really like him, it's just without Christian Watson, this offense doesn't really click the way that we want it to. I would start Jaden Reed. I would start Tucker Kraft.
Absolutely.
I'm fine if you want to play Jordan Love. There could be better matchups like him or Jake Browning or him and, Nick Mullins. You're kind of splitting hairs at that point because we don't really know what to expect from either guy. And without his full complement of weapons, we can't be fully confident in what he's going to do.
Is Watson going to play? Is Watson playing? I don't think he's playing.
No, he's not supposed to play. And so that's where I really struggle with Love is that when he doesn't have Watson, he's looking at Wicks, he's looking at Dobbs, and it's not enough for him to overcome a decent defense. And Tampa Bay does have a great pass rush, right? They will get after him, and he will have to run probably a little bit to stay alive. But I just don't really know if I trust what we're seeing from this Green Bay team to without his entire complement of weapons. But Aaron Jones is expected to play, and I think that could make a big difference for this offense.
Aaron Jones, go away, please. Go away.
You want to start A.J. Dillon instead?
I just want to make mention of this. Jaden Reed is somebody. Green Bay is one of those teams kind of out of sight, out of mind. They're just kind of there. They are just the epitome of just an average team, and that's not a bad thing. I don't mean that in a bad way, but they are young, and there are so many unknown names that I don't believe some of the players get the hype and enthusiasm that they probably should. But Jaden Reed from the 23 rookie class has done a lot both on the ground as a rusher and through the air that he should be getting a lot more steam and pump looking ahead. When you're looking at his Trinity and what he's doing this year in this offense as a rookie, much more eyes and attention should be paid to Jaden Reed. This is a very good player that I think is going to carve out a very nice role for himself in the NFL and in this offense. On the other side of the ball, Baker Rachaad White, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Cade Otton. Who do you feel comfortable with? No doubt, Rachaad White, lock and loaded starter. Mike Evans, I know he had a dud last week, locked and loaded. You're starting him. Chris Godwin, even though you're a little, it's floor-based, you're probably hoping for 5 for 50, what he seems to give you every single week, but you're probably starting Chris Godwin as well. If you've got other options, I don't feel good starting Cade Otton, Jay. Even inside this game, give me Tucker Kraft over Cade Otton, and then Baker Mayfield at quarterback. Listen, we're in dirty quarterback land now. It's the Flaccos, it's the Brownings, it's the Mullins, it's the Minshews, it's the Trubiskys. You're going to probably start Baker Mayfield in a Superflex league against this defense. Any other players that I failed to mention that we should talk about? I mean, Patrick Taylor, if Aaron Jones doesn't go, if A.J. Dillon doesn't go, Patrick Taylor in a pinch?
I wouldn't know. Like, okay. I picked him up in a best ball league, just, again, in case he does play, but Dillon, for whatever reason, is still trying to play. Jones probably going to play, so Taylor's snaps will be very limited. I'm not all the way there with Chris Godwin. If you want to start him, go ahead. I talked about how I don't want to start Jordan Addison, but I think I'd rather start Jordan Addison than Chris Godwin right now, just because I believe he will see more opportunities potentially in the offense. Mike Evans coming off a down game. Talk about who's going to get the ball. Probably that squeaky wheel Mike Evans, right? Had a terrible game last week. Yeah. Should have probably scored a touchdown or came very close to it. Was overturned because his hand was out of bounds. I think Mike Evans is going to be the guy this week, and he's going to get the ball a lot. And this Green Bay defense, it's a lot better than I think people realize through the air. And there could be problems for Chris Godwin over the middle. So I do like Mike Evans a little bit more outside, even though he has the tougher matchup in terms of cornerback. He will overcome that like he always does. And I think having a down week last week does lend itself to a bigger opportunity this week. And obviously, I don't really trust Baker outside either. If the weather's bad, I don't really love Baker, but I believe it was Baker who went to LA, had 2 days of practice, then went to Green Bay and won a game on the road. So he has had some success and had some fun out in Green Bay before, but I don't necessarily trust him to put up a big game for a fantasy perspective to support multiple players. And as you mentioned, Rachaad White, locked and loaded RB1 once again this week.
So I'm going to hit the chat for a minute. Y'all hit the thumbs up button. Hit the thumbs up button, like the content. I got a couple of people in here. Patriots are taking Jaden Daniels. #fact. I hope and pray they do not. I really do. I hope and pray they do not take Jaden Daniels. Please don't do it. Who else do we got? What else do we got in here? Joe pumping up the NFC North is going to be exciting next year once Caleb comes to Chicago. If he doesn't go to Ohio State, I didn't say that. He's going to declare. Here's my thing, Jay. I've been saying it. I think Chicago's going to take Drake May. Somehow, they are going to talk that whoever's picking number 1, they're going to talk themselves into Drake May. Mark my words. Just watch. Watch it come to fruition. Should be Caleb, but watch them talk themselves into Drake May. Does A.J. Dillon's thumb not concern y'all? Hell yeah, it concerns me. It concerns me.
I don't want to play him, but it's more so does he play and take snaps away from other people than actually starting.
We got one more right here. Sam Howell or Joe Flacco this week? I'm sure you would say Sam Howell versus the Rams. That you would just trust him.
Sam Howell against the Rams is a better matchup.
Yeah. All right.
If I'm trusting the volume, I'd trust in the volume of Howell than Flacco.
Then Flacco against Chicago's defense, outdoors.
Exactly.
Got it. All right, we've got Houston and Tennessee, Jay. Houston and Tennessee in this game is not as exciting as maybe it once sounded like it could be. It looks like C.J. Stroud is still in concussion protocol and not going to
Probably not going to play
this week. So you get the corpse of Davis Mills coming out there just in the nick of time for your first round of the fantasy playoffs. Good Lord. Nico Collins probably not going to play. Is this just going to be Devin Singletary and Dameon Pierce on the ground from the Houston Texans? I don't. If Stroud is out, Nico Collins is out, the only player I feel comfortable starting is Devin Singletary, and that is it from Houston.
Really? No Dalton Schultz? I thought you may go Dalton Schultz.
I'm good. I don't fit. If I've got another
Noah
option,
Brown.
I'm exhausting every option before I get to Schultz and Noah Brown if I've got to plug them into a lineup. I don't feel good about any of them besides Devin Singletary, Jay.
Yeah, it's just Devin Singletary, and even the matchup is terrible. I mean, Tennessee still has a top 5 run defense.
It's a terrible matchup.
It's like you're just praying he gets his I mean, even last week they got blown out, and he still had like 60 yards and a touchdown. So he's going to find a way, right, to get you your 10 points, whatever the case may be. But yeah, people say Bobby Trees, no way. Noah Brown, no chance. Dalton Schultz back at practice, I don't really want to start him.
Best ball, sure, but I have to plug Robert Woods into an actual spot. No, sir. Can't do it. Cannot do it. Can't do it.
So the question for you, Ray, is will Derrick Henry go off for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns this week because he's done it 3 straight weeks against Houston? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. And then as well, do you like anybody outside of DeAndre Hopkins this week? Because I think we would start Hopkins because he was great last week.
I like Henry. I like Henry to score. I think he will score, but is he going to go for over 100 for whatever reason? They just don't give him the ball enough. They're throwing Tajay Spears out there. He's got 214. Think about this, right? He's got 214 rush attempts on the season. That's it. That's it. The King might not even get 300 this year.
Oh, there's no way. There's no way.
King
Unless they
might
just
not
ride him into the dirt against Houston.
I wonder, is this a Derrick Henry request, knowing that he's probably not going to be in Tennessee next year? There's some gentleman's agreement that he'll finish out the season, but don't wear me out. Let me have some tread left on the tire as I hit the open market next year, because 214 carries at this stage of the season for Henry, I mean, this is like DeMarco Murray level usage when he was there. So no, I don't envision him going for over 100 unless he's ripping off long runs, which I hope he does. I got a lot of Derrick Henry, so I hope he does do that. But they just haven't. They got 16 carries, and that was like, oh my God, he got 15 plus carries. This is big for Derrick Henry, and yeah, that's like first quarter work for him, man. So I don't feel good about anybody besides DeAndre Hopkins, and we can move on to the next game. I feel like we talked about that one much longer than we even needed to, Jay. We've got the Jets and the Dolphins, though, Jay. Jets and Dolphins. What's up?
What's up is I'm nervous, Ray. Like, let's be real. Do you trust Miami right now if Tyreek doesn't play?
He's
Absolutely
going to play,
not.
though. He's going. Man, the over-under of this game is 37.5 points.
Yeah, Devon Achane probably not playing. Tyreek Hill playing but limited, right? The Jets already play the Miami Dolphins really tough. Second worst or third worst matchup in the NFL for Tua Tagovailoa. And it's not any better on the Zach Wilson side, right? The running game, yeah, it's good for Raheem Mostert, 6th best matchup in the league. But for the wide receivers, Ray, 32nd, tight ends 20th, quarterback 30th. It's just not a good matchup for Miami. So when you talk about starting these guys, like, yes, you're starting Tyreek Hill. I think with Tyreek Hill being banged up, I would trust Jalen Waddle. You're starting Mostert. Would you start Garrett Wilson in this game?
You got to always start G-Dub. Like, you just start him because he's going to Garrett Wilson. There's Tyreek Hill right there. But you always start Garrett Wilson. He's going to get his targets, 10-plus targets, catch 6 of them for 60, 70 yards, and you're just praying they somehow find their way into the red zone, and one of those happens in the end zone. Man, this is Jay, I'm looking at it. It's tied for the second lowest total on the entire slate. There are 3 games that have a 37.5 point game total. This is lower than the Giants Saints. The only game that's lower is Falcons Panthers, man, at 33.5. This is the Dolphins we're talking about. This is
and
the
it's
Dolphins.
in Miami too.
At
so
home.
the weather's going to be good, yeah. Concerns. There's concerns, right? Everyone saw it last week. If Tyreek is not 100% and he's banged up and he's not really doing a whole lot out there, Tua's probably below average.
You should if you want to have a laugh, go to X and type in the search bar Tua without Tyreek and just look at all the tweets. There's some pretty funny stuff if you want to be entertained. So let's go through it real quick. Dolphin side, like it or not, you're starting Tua, Tyreek, Waddle, Raheem Mostert.
Are you starting Tua? For sure.
Yes.
I don't think he's a for sure. We talked about the last week with Stroud, and he's not a for sure. Not a for sure.
The objective reality talk, right? You're talking. You are very on rail today. You are talking some objectivity here, Jay. I'm on board. Yes, you should be concerned. This is a great defense. They are hell on opposing quarterbacks, and they're still playing good football. Like, defensively, they're still playing good football.
Yep.
But let's transition to fantasy land for a minute. And most fantasy managers are probably going to still jam Tua Tagovailoa in their lineup. Probably, yes. I don't think in Week 15 he's gotten people to this point. Even against the Jets at home, most people will still start Tua. Even though, objectively, this is a very difficult matchup and there are probably other areas in which you can pivot that are a little more high range of outcome. But most people are probably still going to start Tua, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a bad matchup.
Jay,
it's
most
such a bad
people
matchup.
are going to do it. I'm just going to say, I'm not going to tell you not to start him. I would be very concerned.
I would start Matthew Stafford. I would start Sam Howell.
Yeah, but there's 12 teams. There's 12 teams in your league. 24
Russell
quarterbacks
Wilson?
in super. Dude,
Jared Goff. I mean, he's going to be owned. But like Matthew Stafford's a guy we've been saying for weeks to go pick up for the playoff stretch.
Have they played the Jets already yet this season? And how'd that work out for them? They lost 34-13. Last game they faced off 34-13. Tyreek scored. Tua was 21 for 30, 243.
One touchdown, two picks. And that's a game that Tyreek was fully healthy and Waddle went over 100.
Yeah.
QBR of 37.3 with a healthy Tyreek Hill going over 100 and Waddle going over 100. And that was a game that Tim Boyle also threw 2 picks and got sacked 7 times.
Well, here's the problem. Jay. Do you have the stones to do that with 3 games on Saturday? 1 game already having been played. Like, if you bench Tua now, like, you better have a damn good option. If you bench him, you better have a good option, especially if you do that, after the Saturday games conclude, man. So on the Jets side of the ball, really quickly, Breece Hall, you're firing him up. You know he's not going to do anything on the ground, but he's going to catch 13 passes. So you're going to start Breece Hall. I do think you start Garrett Wilson. Other than that, there's nobody else you're going to start from the Jets. There's nobody else you're going to start from the Jets. Very interesting dialogue, Jay. I think you got me a little nervous about that one. Let's go to Kansas City. Kansas City Chiefs traveling to Foxborough to take on the New England Patriots, led by Bailey Zappi. Mahomes Zappi bonanza. Let's get it. This too, Jay, 37.5 point total in this one. Kansas City favored by 8.5. Not talking about Mahomes, not talking about Kelsey, and at this point, Jay, we're not talking about Rashee Rice. Those are 3 locked-in must-starters. Running backs from the Patriots, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jerick McKinnon, yay or nay on either of those 2 players?
I'm willing to start McKinnon like I was last week. I think it's an okay matchup. Obviously, the Pats are much better than what they saw last week. And then obviously Zeke. I love Zeke this week. Bell cow Zeke. He's going to get the ball a ton. I believe he caught 7 passes last week, had over 15 carries. I think you start Zeke this week with a lot of confidence. But outside of that, I think it's your usual suspects. And I think the question, Ray, is would you start any of the New England pass catchers? Because the matchup is okay.
Is
7th in the NFL.
Is Pop in? Is Pop Douglas in this week?
He's back to practice. Yeah, he's back at practice, so he should be available. But Parker practice, Juju practice. So everyone's going to be there, but, as you mentioned, Pop Douglas probably the top target. If
New England, here's who you start. Your guaranteed starters from New England. You're starting Ezekiel Elliott. Guaranteed. He's getting 30 opportunities. Yeah. You start Zeke.
I think that's the end of list for you, who you
end
have
of list,
to start.
End of list. I would Pop.
If you have to.
Find a better option if you can, right? Just find a better option. This defense is going to make life hell on Bailey Zappi. So if you can find other options, I would do that. I'm with you. I think Zeke is the only must start from this list, Jay. Hunter Henry?
I don't know. I just, the problem is I can't predict that 2 touchdown game, right? So what are we really playing for? I guess you're playing for that 2 touchdown game, but Zappi against this defense, there's no way in hell I trust him. He's going to get destroyed this week.
Yeah, this is probably going to be a bad one right here. So I would say Ezekiel
Joe said
Elliott,
Zappi fever is extremely dangerous. I completely agree.
Zappi fever is no good. Zeke or Javonte?
I'm tempted to say Zeke, but I think because of the total, I would take Javonte.
I'll take Williams in that one. All right, let's get to an entertaining quarterback, man, with a much higher total than the Patrick Mahomes-led Chiefs. Tommy DeVito, baby. Tommy DeVito versus
Did you see
Saints.
His agent is going into the Hall of Fame or something?
Was that
what
really
did he do to
agent?
Deserve that?
He looks exactly.
Honestly, Ray, if it wasn't his agent, I would 100% believe it. There's just no way this is real. There's no way this is a real timeline right now.
That it was they are playing and feeding into the Italian shtick. It could be
just ridiculous.
Incredible marketing for Tommy DeVito. I love
unreal.
when players take advantage of their moment in the sun. New Orleans favored by 6 points with Derek Carr projected to be the quarterback. My goodness,
isn't that ridiculous?
That's ridiculous, Jay. That is ridiculous that they're favored by 6 points in this matchup. Giants right there with Chicago Bears trying to get in the playoffs. Your must locked in starters, Saquon Barkley. Enlist Saquon Barkley.
Ray, honestly, New Orleans ain't so good against the tight end anymore. They used to be the best team in the league.
You used to love that.
Third best matchup, 17.4 points per game to opposing tight ends and ones allowing. What, you got to put me on an island on this when I say that you should start Darren Waller? I mean, it's a good matchup. It's a good matchup. But yeah, DeVito, the biggest thing with DeVito, Ray, and why you could actually start him in Superflex leagues is the Saints really struggle against rushing quarterbacks. They always have, always will. So I think that just that ability to get loose on this defense for a team that has historically, for years and years, struggled against quarterbacks that can run, he may actually be just fine. While the matchup doesn't look too good on paper, 22nd this week, that doesn't necessarily count the fact that they suck against rushing quarterbacks.
Cole World TD said, my boy from my barbershop has the same age and he played in the CFL this year. Cole World, you're lying. Is that really his agent? Stop lying. Tell the truth, Cole World. Tell the truth. Go ahead, Jay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, Ray, from the Giants side, I think it is Saquon, and if you wanted to start Darren Waller, the matchup is good, just so you know. That's it. I'm just saying. So you know the matchup is good. But on the Saints side, Ray, who you starting? We starting AK?
Come on, man.
We're starting AK?
You know who the number
Would you start?
Hold on. Let me tell you. Do you know who the number 2 running back in WAR is on the season?
I'm sure it's Kamara.
It's Alvin freaking Kamara.
Yeah, Mr.
Alvin Kamara. Yes, you're firing up Kamara. You're firing up Chris Olave.
Well, Chris Olave might not play, right?
If
he hasn't practiced.
I don't care. He's going to play. You're firing up Olave. You're firing up. This is concerning, right? Let me tell y'all the crap part about the Saturday games is if you're waiting on questionable players for Sunday, you're wiped off the board. You got to make this is the catch-22 this week, because let's just say hypothetically you're waiting on Olave, right? You're waiting on Olave and you bench Sutton or Judy, you bench Deontay Johnson, you bench T. Higgins, Jordan Addison. You're assed out. You're really up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. So make sure you have insurance plans if you're going to fade one of the Saturday players in lieu and waiting for somebody for Sunday. Real rap. If you're going to fade a Saturday player for somebody that's questionable on Sunday, make sure you have a contingency plan. So if you're waiting on Olave, Jay, make sure you have a Shaheed. Make sure you have, I don't even know who else they have is at receiver. A.T. Perry. Somebody.
A.T. Perry, fire him up.
Make sure you have somebody in case if you fade from one of the Saturday matchups. But yeah, Alvin Kamara, you're starting them.
Best matchup in the NFL for wide receivers, Ray. Best matchup in the NFL for wide receivers. I would like a Shaheed if he's going to be playing, especially if Olave's out. Right? At that point, you got to fire him up. And I'm starting Taysom Hill. I don't care what anyone. Every week, you start Taysom Hill. Must start territory every week.
All right, I want to get to good games. So let's get through this awful game that we are contractually obligated to talk about on Fridays. Jay, Carolina and Atlanta. Atlanta, 33.5 points. Atlanta only, think about this. Atlanta's only favored by 3. And your boy, went out there and threw for 350. 2-3 touchdowns, running the ball. Do we get a Ritter game in Week 15 versus Carolina? Can we lock in a Ritter game?
No. You can't lock in a Ritter game. Carolina's defense is way too good. 31st matchup in the NFL, 10.7 points per game Carolina allows to opposing quarterbacks. And I talked about this, I believe, a few weeks ago with the Colts and how they're good against quarterbacks because they're so bad against running backs. And it's the exact same situation with Carolina. They are great against quarterbacks because they are so bad against running backs that Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier should have great games. They shouldn't have to do much in terms of passing the ball. So I do like, those two guys. I think, if you had to start Algier, you could consider it. I don't love it, but I think they will run the ball probably 30, 35 times in this game. Just keep it out of Ritter's hands. There's no reason to throw the ball. This game's always going to be competitive. Atlanta's defense is good to keep them in the game. And I believe it was week 1, right, that Jesse Bates picked off Bryce Young twice. And one, I think, was for a pick 6 in that game. So Bryce is going to struggle yet again against Atlanta, and I trust what we've seen from the running game, that both running backs have a good game. It's just really the pass catchers. I don't love Pitts or London in this matchup this week.
And they keep doing it. I think you're starting Pitts, you're starting London. I think Ritter is a viable starter in this matchup. Carolina side of the ball, Chuba Hubbard. That's probably about it. Yeah. That's probably about, like, maybe Adam Thielen, you have to play him, but I don't feel great about that at all. Mingo has been force-fed. Listen, go look at the Trinity. Mingo as well as QJ were two players that I said, again, I'm not predicting or projecting fantasy stardom, but they've been tracking much better the past couple of weeks, and I'll leave it at that, Jay. We've got Mitch waiting in the building. Mitch Carl is in the damn building, so let's get through this last game, and then we could, you know what? Mitch, you just want to talk some ball? Let's get Mitch in here. Mitch, are you ready to just talk some ball? Let's just bring Mitch in to talk about, because these are some nice little games that we have coming up. So let's bring Mitch in the building. What's going on, DFS and Donuts? Mitch Carl in the goddamn building. What's up, Mitch? How you doing, baby?
What's up, everybody? Appreciate
How's it going?
you. Thank you for bringing me in, man. Listen, I purposely took off my Buffalo Bills cap today because I'm like, you know what? I respect this man too much to come in here and talk smack on his show about how the Bills are going to trounce the Cowboys in Buffalo this weekend.
I was fully expecting Ray to put on the helmet just to make you feel worse.
I don't feel like hearing that. Listen, Joe, Joe, all I'm saying, Joe, I trust the Trinity, Joe. Every week, he's getting a little bit better. Carolina's just awful in general. But let's go to the Rams and the Commanders game, Jay. This one, 50.5 point total in this game with the Rams favored by 6.5. You got Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, Matthew Stafford. You've got Sam Howell just trying to finish out the season. My man's arm is shot. We like talking about his pass attempts. Jay, in this game, I think we're both projecting the Rams to win this matchup. But from a fantasy perspective, we're not going to talk about Cooper Kupp. We're not going to talk about, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams. Those are must-start guys. Commander side of the ball, Brian Robinson's out. How are we feeling about Antonio Gibson? How are you feeling about the pass catchers? And I'm going to tell you right now, Mitch, I don't know if you've looked into this, but one of the props that I've been pretty profitable on of late, they always set the line so low. Curtis Samuel's receptions, it's always right around 3.5 receptions, and by the second quarter, he's hit it. So, Jay, I'm going to start with you. This game, Washington side of the ball, are there any sleeper players that you're like, you've got to start this week? Because most people are thinking about Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson. That's top of mind. But with the 50.5 point total and the Rams not favored by double digits, they're probably projecting the Commanders to score some points.
Yeah, for sure. And Antonio Gibson, right, in the fifth best matchup this week, 25.5 points per game since week 10 that the Los Angeles Rams have allowed. And I think, honestly, if you were like desperate and Brian Robinson's out, Chris Rodriguez, when he filled in, actually looked pretty good too. He may get you 40 yards, catch a couple passes. Again, touchdown viability is low. I'm just saying.
Let's go.
Chris
Rodriguez, let's go.
Brandon Bolden scored a touchdown last night. So at this point, anything can happen. I'm not saying you got to start him, but the matchup is good. And if it's not Antonio Gibson, it's going to be Chris Rodriguez. And so today, you can go pick this guy up, think about potentially being an option for you late in the week. Huge total. We love Stafford. We love Nacua. Again, the pass catchers, though, for Washington, I just never know who to play. I mean, you're probably going to start all of them, but I mean, if it's not Dotson or McLaurin, I'm not going anywhere else. But Ray, I think we talked about DeMarcus Robinson on Monday. You got to at least consider starting him this week. He had 10 targets last week, massive total. Obviously, love Kupp, love Nacua, love Stafford. I think if DeMarcus Robinson is going to be that third receiver, Tutu did return to practice after being in concussion protocol for a little bit. I think you could start him, though. If he's going to see like 7 targets, that's a player you want. And I would rather start that guy those targets coming from Matthew Stafford than a Jahan Dotson or Terry McLaurin that might only see 5 or 6 targets from Sam Howell.
Mitch, you got any leans in this game, the Washington Rams game? Is there anything that you found that you're looking at that you like that you think we can exploit?
Yeah, I got a couple leans, actually. Puka Nacua, I've been taking the under 5.5. That's been an interesting line. 5.5 receptions, that is, for anybody who's out there listening. He has just not been the same wide receiver with Cooper Kupp on the field. In the first few games of the year, I think, they were trying to find their footing together. But since Kupp has been in there, it's 7 straight games he's finished with 5 or fewer receptions. You can get that at minus 120 still. And yeah, I know, very high total. Everything's looking fresh, but that only makes me like Cooper Kupp more, not Puka Nacua more. Kupp you're seeing return into a healthy form, which I feel like we did not see much of this season. Scored in back-to-back weeks. So for you guys and gals who like the touchdown props, you can take him to score a touchdown, plus 120 on FanDuel Sportsbook this morning. I think that's tremendous odds for a guy who's been top 2 or 3 in the receiving touchdowns for the last 3 seasons. And I will say this, a little caveat on the side here too. Last week, 4-0 on the picks that I posted on this show last
You sure
Friday.
did.
It was beautiful week. This week, Ray, I don't feel good. This is a really tough week of betting. I do have 3 official picks. Neither of these is one of them.
All right. Kyron Williams, Jay, 199 yards away from 1,000, and Puka Nacua chilling at 1,100 yards on the season, getting closer to that 1,300-yard kind of total that we were talking about the other day. Well, let's get to another game that should be interesting from a betting perspective and fantasy goodness, because you've got the best team in the NFL. I'm just going to say it. It hurts me to say that. It's the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Kyler Murray-led Arizona Cardinals. 47.5-point total in this one. The Niners are favored by 12 points. Now, they opened up as 14-point favorites, 47.5-point total, but it's been juiced down, bumped down to 12 points, but that's still go get it Brock Purdy. So Brock Purdy, locked and loaded. Brandon Ayuk, locked and loaded. Christian McCaffrey, why did I even mention his name? Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, start. Arizona side of the ball, Kyler Murray, fire him up. James Conner, fire him up. Trey McBeast, fire him up. And I don't know where his props are, but Trey McBride is a damn animal. I've been telling people about him since the summertime. This is one. Arizona at home, I think they'll move the ball a little bit, man. San Francisco is no doubt the best team in the league, but you can move the ball on this defense a little bit, Jay. Are there any other fantasy players from this game? Hollywood Brown, you've got Michael Wilson. Jay, it hasn't
just don't know who the guy is,
It hasn't
right?
clicked between Kyler and Hollywood, even though he's getting the targets. It just hasn't clicked since Kyler came back in the lineup. So, Jay, I'm going to start with you. Anybody else you want to talk about from this matchup, or is this just fire up your Niners, fire up McBeast, fire up Connor, fire up Kyler, and that's it? Connor, McBeast, and Kyler.
Yeah, like Connor, you're going to play because of the volume, right? The matchup really isn't great. San Francisco, the third best team in the league in terms of stopping running backs, only 15.7 points per game, but we would project probably 70% of that to go to James Conner any given week. And when you talk about a team that's probably going to be down, probably going to be coming from behind, we expect more passes potentially to be thrown to James Conner as well and get more fantasy points that way. I don't hate starting Kyler Murray if you wanted to, because the matchup actually isn't that bad. Brandon Ayuk, Ray, 56 receptions, 1,050 yards. Crazy to think he doesn't even have 60 receptions and he already has over 1,000 yards on the season. We don't even need to talk about the Niners. You know who to start for the Niners. There's 4 guys. You start them all. End of the discussion every single week. But on the Arizona side, as you mentioned, it is Trey McBride. It is, Kyler Murray, if you want to start him. It's a fine matchup. It's probably going to score points. I like him. But outside of that, it's James Conner, and I don't really trust the pass catcher. I don't know if it's going to be a Wilson game. I don't know if it's going to be a Hollywood game. He's just returning to practice. He's still not 100%. Don't really trust him against the Niners. So I think that's pretty much it from this game. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Not a whole lot to talk about here.
Mitch, CMC, anytime touchdown, anything from this game you like? Ayuk's receptions, yards. Is there anything that you're leaning on this one? Nothing official, but something you like.
I do have an official, actually. This is one of mine for the weekend, and you nailed it. Top of the show. Listen, 12.5-point favorites on the road, which is wild too. I just can't see Brock Purdy heaving the ball 30-plus times. His line at 29.5 pass attempts, just nice. He's hit the under 9 of the last 10 games. They just don't need to throw the football that much, and I don't expect them to have to do it again this weekend. So I'm taking under 29.5 pass attempts. And I'm fine with taking the odds all the way up to like minus 140. I just think this is a shoe-in.
Like that. I like that a lot, and I'm with you. I don't know if he had, man, he's got 3,500 passing yards on the season. Man.
I believe he's still second in the NFL, right?
Good Lord, Brock Purdy. This is I'm interested to see how this one plays out. I hope the Cardinals can do enough to just hang around that it keeps Kyler Murray throwing the ball to McBride. Everybody needs some McBride points this week for fantasy. I think we are firing up as a top 3, top 5 option on the week. And everybody else, there's nothing to talk about from San Francisco. They're studs. You start all of those guys. All right. And this is just as disrespectful as it gets. The fact that I see this and the Buffalo Bills are favored over the Dallas Cowboys by 2?
Damn right.
What? Bro, give me the what sounder, Jay. What do you mean, what? Damn right? What? 50.5 point total in this matchup. We've got the Dallas Cowboys, my Dallas Cowboys versus Mitch's Buffalo Bills. Dak Prescott, Josh Allen, Tony Pollard, James Cook, CeeDee Lamb, Stephon Diggs, Jake Ferguson, Dalton Kincaid. There is fantasy goodness all over the place. Jay, Dallas side of the ball, locked and loaded starters. You're firing them up, no questions asked. Dak Prescott, Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson. Start those 4 players. Just want to ask you quickly, Brandon Cooks, Jay, in a matchup where Vegas is saying they're going to score a lot of points. Brandon Cooks, you firing them up?
I don't know if I am, Ray. I'm really nervous about Brandon Cooks. I like him, but Michael Gallup's involvement has ate into Brandon Cooks' work. I think that's the biggest problem. On the road, where I don't project Dak Prescott to be as good as he has been this season. Again, he's great. He's a phenomenal quarterback. I like him as an individual asset. I like CeeDee Lamb. I like Ferg. But I don't know if I like the other players in this. Matt, look at Mitch doubling up on the twos. How many you got? Oh, just 2. Okay. I was hoping we'd see a third.
I was just going to say this, man. They say when you double up, it's actually more risky. So I'm just going to say you're never supposed to double up. I don't. What? You're never supposed to double up. What? I know it's a myth out there, but for those of y'all that don't know, and if you do know, you do know. What? But Mitch, let's talk about it, man. This is a game that fantasy betting, there's a lot of opportunity for coin to be made in this matchup. Josh Allen, Dak, Lamb, Diggs, Kincaid. Just talk about it, man. What's your read on this game? What's your read on this one?
Listen, I mean, I am way too biased to be asked this question, right? I mean, I think the Bills win. I think they win in a big fashion. All jokes aside, Dallas coming off a massive W, a massive divisional W. And I think it's potentially a little bit of a letdown spot. On the road, tough place to play in Buffalo. It's not going to be warm this weekend. It won't be freezing either. On the flip side, Dak Prescott, man, I know everybody's talking about Brock Purdy MVP style. Dak Prescott, 21 touchdowns, 2 picks, last 7 games, over 300 yards average per game, playing the best ball of his life. And
yes.
Cowboys, honestly, looking like the second best team in the NFL. It's an interesting game. I mean, I'm totally intrigued to hear what you have to say about this game before I really dive into kind of the boring prop stuff. This game, I mean, 2-point spread in Buffalo is just going to potentially be everything we want it to be.
Yeah, and I'm looking right now. It's Friday. It's Friday morning. It looks like weather's not going to be a factor. Like, it'd be cold, but it doesn't appear to be any kind of blizzard or anything like that, inclement weather that's going to affect the outcome of this game. You always wonder about a team after a big divisional win about a letdown in the following week. But since Dallas got foot put in them by the San Francisco 49ers, they have been on point, and they've been coming out early and often, firing on all cylinders. I think that the Buffalo defense is very susceptible to both the run and the pass. It's going to be interesting to see how these two teams play. I mean, Philadelphia and Buffalo was a slugfest. Philly was putting up points on Buffalo a couple of weeks ago. But being objective on the other side, Dallas, you can get them as well. You can run on Dallas. I think Josh Allen will find success with his legs versus this Dallas defense. They've got a small linebacking core, and Jonathan Hankins, the big interior run-stuffing defensive tackle, was carted off of the field last week. I don't know. Let me look at the practice report if Hankins is in or out. I don't see anything right now about Hankins, but if he's not in and they've got to start Mozzie Smith, the rookie out of Michigan, there will be alleys up the gut to run the ball and at least make Dallas focus more attention in that area. I think there will be points. Stephon Diggs versus Stephon Gilmore is going to be an interesting matchup. But those ancillary pieces, the Brandon Cookses, the Dalton Kincaids, a Gabe Davis touchdown, I'm not ruling any of that stuff out. We've seen Duran Bland be attacked and exploited by bigger, more physical wide receivers. I think this is going to be a hell of a game. I don't know why. I think this should have been the Sunday night matchup. I'll leave it at that. I think this is going to be a great game. But I want to make some money, Mitch. So what do you have for us from a prop perspective in this game? What do the books tell us? What's Vegas talking about?
Yeah, I got a few leans here. Now, it's early Friday morning. Also, way too invested in the Bills to be betting on them personally this weekend. But Stephon Diggs against Gilmore. I see people in chat already saying this again last week. So I think the under for Stephon Diggs at 7.5 receptions.
Don't tell me that.
Sharp.
I need Diggs in fantasy. Don't tell me that, man.
I'm sorry. That's my current lean. But listen, he can still go out there and catch a bomb, catch you a touchdown or two. So if you do like Diggs or you need to invest yourself in that way, I think the touchdown prop, probably the better value, because you're getting that at very good plus odds instead of taking the receptions, which I think is just a tough ask. James Cook, you mentioned the rush defense. I like James Cook a lot. He's hit the over on his rushing yard prop. He needs 54 plus rushing yards this weekend. He's hit the over in 6 of the last 8. 4 of the last 5 starting running backs against the Cowboys have hit the over on the rushing yard prop. As you mentioned, that is really potentially the only weakness against the Dallas defense, is that they can give up a few runs per game, 15, 20 yards each. James Cook can do that. So I'm taking the over 53.5 for the rushing yards, under for Stephon Diggs. And on the flip side, 2 touchdown passes for Dak Prescott, 7 straight games. I think it happens for a third. You can probably just take the 2 touchdowns and then parlay that with like Dallas plus 14.5. I don't know what the odds are for that, plus 10.5, something like that. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think this game's close no matter what side ends up taking home the dub.
I'm with you on that. I think it's going to be close. And what Mitch is saying is just basically you're saying Dallas isn't going to get blown out. Just tease it up, move the line up, alt line it up to a high total. They shouldn't get beat by 2+ touchdowns. I'm with you on that one. This is going to be a good game. Fantasy perspective, you're starting them up, right? You're starting them. Fire them all up. You're just firing up these guys. You're leaning on the total, but I could easily see a game where Michael Gallup got involved a little bit more. It was Brandon Cooks, or it's a Jake Ferguson game. I'd be interested to see some of the Jake Ferguson lines. I'm not sure, JRich, how Buffalo is versus opposing tight ends, but Ferguson, more and more opportunity as the weeks come on. So this is going to be a great matchup. I'm excited for this game. But we've got one more that we got to talk about before we get out of here, get Mitch out of here, get the people out of here so y'all can go to work, make money, join the Discord, join the Dubclub, all that stuff, right? We got to get y'all back to work. Ravens, Jaguars, the NBC Sunday night game, Baltimore favored by 3.5, Jay, 42.5 point total. Trevor Lawrence going to tough it out as he always does. He's just a tough-ass quarterback, man, tough quarterback. At home versus the number 1 seed in the AFC right now, the Lamar Jackson-led Ravens. Lamar, Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne. You've got the pass catchers, Evan Ingram, whose receptions have been money of late. You talk about a prop that's just been printing money. Evan Ingram's receptions. No Christian Kirk in this matchup. On the Baltimore side, Isaiah Likely, no Mark Andrews. Odell Beckham been playing better ball. Zay Flowers. Where are we at, JRich? What do you think about this one from a fantasy perspective? Who are we not firing up from this game? Because this feels much like Dallas and Buffalo. You're probably starting just about everybody that's starting on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, this game is really interesting from a lot of angles. The only bad matchup really is the Ravens running backs, right? So, and if we're being honest, we don't really want to start Ravens running backs because we don't know, is it Gus Edwards, is it Keaton Mitchell? And if you want to bench those guys this week, totally have my blessing. 27th in the league, only 18 fantasy points. Travis Etienne, you're starting him. 29.5 fantasy points allowed to opposing running backs since week 10. You talk about quarterbacks. Both quarterbacks have top 12 matchups this week. Both tight ends, top 12 matchups this week, and wide receivers, top 13. So whether you're starting Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham Jr., even if you want to go deeper on the Baltimore side, I think there's going to be a ton of points in this game. And because Jacksonville is so stout against the run, I think we're going to see a lot what we saw last week, a lot of passing from Lamar Jackson in hopefully much better conditions in this game. So I think you talk about Lamar Jackson and what he could do, could be the number 1 quarterback on the week. Trevor Lawrence could try and match him on the other side. Obviously, his health will be a big topic of discussion, but it really doesn't matter who you like in this game. You're probably going to want to start him, and they're probably going to have a pretty good matchup, or have a lot of success in the game. It's really just those Ravens running backs that could struggle because that Jacksonville rush defense is so good. But if you think about from the perspective of who's going to benefit from that, it's going to be Isaiah Likely. It's going to be all the pass catchers for the Baltimore Ravens. I think you could confidently start Odell Beckham Jr., Zay Flowers, and if you wanted to go deeper than that, you could go to Nelson Aguilar, who I believe has had quite a few receptions in the past few weeks. Again, deep, and I don't love it, but the matchup is great. Top 5 in the NFL. And on the Jacksonville side, still 13th in the NFL. So it's a great spot for just about everybody in this game outside of the Ravens running backs.
Mitch, what you got on this one?
Yeah, no, I think Jay really kind of broke it down. I see the game the same exact way. Lamar Jackson time, man. Prime time Lamar. I love playing the alphas. I love playing the superstars in primetime spots. We talked about that last week, TD Lamb, right?
TD Lamb, and he scored
Yes,
for us. And he scored.
Play the big names in big spots. They often step up in a big way. Lamar Jackson in primetime has averaged over 29 pass attempts per game, which is over in 7 of the 10 primetime games. And he's also hit the over in passing yards in 6 of the last 8 games. And Jay already highlighted Jags rush defense, very good, pass defense, susceptible, and a lot of that has to do with the volume. They give up the second most pass attempts per game in the NFL, second to only the Eagles. We're talking almost 39 pass attempts per game, and Lamar Jackson at 28.5 pass attempts is just low-hanging fruit to me. I like the over there. I also like the over in his passing yards at 251. Just seems like it's too easy as these continue to hit the over in these types of game scripts. And I agree. I think the Ravens are going to struggle to run the football on the road. You know, you get the crazy fans on primetime at home, and that's often a spot where you see, you know, opposing teams come out. They usually try to go like some type of pace-up, short passing game that first drive just to kind of take the wind out of the lungs of the opposing fan base and get some control of the game. They don't often come out, turn around, and hand the ball off.
Right,
the crowd's insane. The defense is fired up. They just try to, you know, change the pace a little bit and get control. And I expect them to come out that first drive, and it's just going to be short pass, short pass, short pass, read option, and he runs it. I think it's just going to be a Lamar Jackson show.
Yeah, I'm excited. It should be a good one. In a week that Trevor Lawrence survived versus Cleveland, I'm not seeing anything about the ankle re-injury. Seems like he should be good to go. So hopefully we get a little better version of Trevor Lawrence. I know he had 3 touchdown passes, also fumbled, had 3 interceptions, but hopefully another week removed from that ankle injury, we get a better version of Trevor Lawrence. This is an exciting weekend of football. Get ready. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we'll be back. We're not going to touch on the Eagles-Seahawks Monday night game. We'll talk about that on the Monday Wake Up Show. So, Mitch, appreciate you being in the building, man. And just for those people out there who are like, who is this guy that we got on here double-hatting it up, talking
Who's this
props?
handsome fella?
Yeah, who the hell is he? What does he know about anything? Well, I'm putting this on the screen right here. I'm covering up JRich right now. This was last night. I mean, when we say heater, Mitch is not only on a heater, but he's giving away money, man. He's whoring out money. All you got to do is follow him. Follow him. Make sure you tap in because he is printing coin and making money for the community, helping us out. He's a good friend of the show, good friend of ours. Mitch, I continue to wish you success. Keep crushing it out there in the prop market. And if y'all want more for him, there's a link to the Dubclub in the description, or you could just literally go to @DFS and Donuts on X, and he's got all kinds of stuff on there that you can click on, sub to, try out, taste, do all that good stuff. Mitch, go grind the plays. Go find us some more good stuff. Thank you for joining, man.
I'm going to do you guys
Thanks,
a favor,
Mitch.
too. When the video ends, leave your comment down in the description section, right? I'm going to leave 3 picks down there. So you guys can get those 3 picks in the comment section, but you got to catch it after the show is over. Thanks, guys. I'll catch you later.
Appreciate it, Mitch. All right. That's my boy, Mitch Carl.
Yes,
and
sir.
that is week 15 that we kind of told y'all who to start, who to sit, all that other good stuff. We got more content coming on DD, but we got a couple of chats that I want to get to engage with the audience before we get out of here, Jay. Got one from Colin. What's happening with you, Colin? Colin said, Ray, Mojo Sportsbook just closed in Jersey. Oh, man. Yeah, boy. But not before I made a killing off of them. Thank you to your suggestions. JRich, Shador, Purdy, Jaden Daniels. I appreciate you, sir. Yeah, for those of y'all who don't know, Mojo Fantasy, Mojo Sportsbook had this thing where you can invest in college players. If you took those bets on Shador Sanders, Jay, It's going to
Probably
be
pretty good.
It's going to be a Merry Christmas for a lot of people out there. There was a lot of money to be made, and what some people say in the industry is a once in a lifetime opportunity. So hopefully y'all were able to take advantage of that. The money hit my account yesterday, Jay, and
Oh, did it?
Thank you, Shadur Sanders, and thank you, Mojo. It is. Santa Claus came to town, baby. Came to town, and he used 2 hats. All right, we got another chat. Full PPR, I need 3 options. Tyreek, Ayuk, Olave, Rice, or Puka. Woo!
Easy. Tyreek,
Hold on,
Ayuk,
hold on,
Puka,
hold on.
done.
You said, who is it? Tyreek, Ayuk?
Tyreek, Ayuk, and Puka.
Easy?
I don't even want to. I'm starting Rice, but against the Pats, it's not a great matchup.
I'm with you.
And Olave's hurt, so
Tyreek, Ayuk, Puka.
if you're getting me to choose between Olave and Puka, give me the healthy guy. Easy.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, let's see what else is in the chat. Stop doing this. Amstel54, you are loyal and faithful, and you're here every week, and I don't know why you wish this upon us. No, man, we don't want Daniels with freaking Bill Belichick unless you're telling me Bill is out the door, Ben Johnson is in there. Keep Jaden Daniels as far away from Bill Belichick as possible. Please, for the love of fantasy, do not let him go there.
Those reports he may be gone.
Bill?
It's rumblings. That the decision was made after they lost to the Colts in Germany.
Yeah, Joe, he's trying to manifest the shit out of it. I don't want to see it. Please, I don't want to see it. What else we got? Brad said Mullins or Flacco, Jay?
Mullins.
Okay.
Volume, baby. Volume.
All right, volume. What else do we have? Nelson Aguilar or Rashad Bateman?
Aguilar, I believe. I honestly don't know, but I would in my head, I'm like, I think Aguilar's been running more.
Okay. Bill Belichick is gone, right? People are saying Bill is gone. Bill is gone. Here's a good one. Garrett Wilson or Diggs, Jay?
Garrett Wilson. I wouldn't even say it's that close. You're telling me Diggs has Gilmore all game? I'm taking Garrett Wilson. I don't care who the hell Garrett Wilson has to deal with, but I know he's good, and Diggs has been awful, and he has to deal with Stephon Gilmore.
I'm a contender. In a contender, who should I spend a late 24 first for to win? Should I use it to upgrade to Goff? If you didn't listen to the start of the show, Smitty, Goff has got who's Goff got this week?
I think he's
Denver.
upgrading Goff, he's saying. You
upgrade.
probably should upgrade Goff because
to
he
what?
has...
Yeah, to what, though? Up tier to what is my question.
That's the big question.
Up tier to what? Okay, up tier to what?
It's very difficult, but he does have the Vikings next week, and then he has to go to Dallas to play your Cowboys. So his schedule is bad.
Real quick, let me just say this about the Bill Belichick New England thing, and then we're going to round out the show with this. I'm with Cole World. I can definitely see a scenario where, remember, it feels like Greg Popovich. Pop was out the door. Pop was gone, right? Then all of a sudden, San Antonio got that number 1 overall pick, and Victor Wembanyama.
Did they get it or did they give it to him? That's all I'm going to say.
Neither here nor there. They had the number 1 pick, and Pop was like, maybe we could rebuild this thing with this superstar player. I just wonder if Belichick's sitting there saying, you know what? We took a swing with Mac. That wasn't the right guy, but if I can get Drake May or Caleb Williams, we can turn this thing around. Because I don't think Kraft is firing him, Jay. Robert Kraft is not going to fire Bill Belichick.
Well, the report was there'd be a mutual parting of the ways at the end of the season, and that the decision has been made, right? He's not going to get fired, but, he'll step away or they'll mutually part, whatever the language you want to use. But that was basically the rumor, was that the decision was made in Germany after they lost to the Colts. That, okay, we need to make a new decision. Bill will finish the season, but after that, we're going to go our separate ways and have a new coach in New England. Because the problem, too, is that, Ray, and we keep saying this, they need a GM. They fucking need a GM. Bill is the worst GM in the NFL, and it may not be particularly close.
I know. I get it. It's tough. It's going to see how it plays out. We'll see how it plays out. But Khan just said the Pistons got robbed.
And they drafted Cade Cunningham.
What? Joe, let me ask Joe, real talk. We're done after this. Do y'all want Bill Belichick, is that who you still want as the head coach? You want Bill in Washington. You really want Bill with Justin Herbert.
So here's the thing, right? I actually don't think Bill would be a bad head coach if you have a good OC, right? Like, I think he's a good defensive coach. He's clearly like, again, this Patriots team is terrible, but they still play hard every week.
But what I'm asking is, has the game and his idea of what a quarterback should do passing by? Because even when they had Cam Newton, they didn't let Cam Newton do Cam Newton things. I'm just wondering, will he evolve with how Jaden Daniels wants to play ball, how Caleb Williams wants to play ball? Because a lot of these times it's my way. I've won 32 Super Bowls. How are you going to tell me what type of offense I need to run? I know what I'm doing. I just didn't have the personnel to do it.
So I think the problem is that what you're talking about is a New England situation. If he's fired and he goes somewhere else, he's not going to have the same clout and control in another organization, right? It feels like, he brought in Bill O'Brien. He brought in Matt Patricia. He brought in Joe Judge. Like, these are all his guys. So he has a bulk of control. If he's going into Washington, he's not telling Eric Bieniemy what to do. Like, that's not going to happen. And how he's going to run the offense. At least I don't believe that's going to happen. Not for a guy who just won 2 games this season, right? Like, I think that's where in New England, because he had so much success there, it's impossible to tell Bill what to do. But in another situation, let's say, Bill, look, we really respect you as a coach, as a leader, and as a defensive-minded guy.
Would you like him in L.A. with Herbert? And those pieces on defense?
I mean, sure, but the problem is Kellen Moore even good? I think that's another question. Is Kellen Moore even good? That's
Kellen Moore's been booty.
Right?
He's been pretty bad.
So I think it's bigger. Like, if Bill's the head coach, I think that's great because Bill can help Herbert be a better man, be a better player, whatever the fuck Bill does.
Help me be a better man. Help me.
But ultimately, we need Herbert to have a good OC, right? Like, that's what we need for Herbert. And Bill's not probably going to change that much.
A lot of Bill Belichick talk here at the end of this show, which means it's time to go. We appreciate everybody tapping in. Appreciate y'all being here another week with Wake Up with myself and JRich. I think we only got one more week with you, Jay. You're going to be gone for a little bit, so there'll be no Wake Up with you here in the next couple of weeks. Aren't you out later in December? You're gone?
Yeah, I'll
next
be
week
out.
Next week's your last week.
Yeah. Well, what are we doing for Christmas? I guess we haven't even talked about it yet. So
when is Christmas? Is on Monday, huh?
Christmas is on the Monday. So I mean, are we doing Wake Up Christmas Day with Ray G?
Yeah,
probably not.
Screw Christmas presents with your family. Freaking jump on the stream so we can talk about damn football. I don't know what we'll do. Might do something Sunday night.
But then I'm out after that, right? So I'll be going to the Lions Cowboys game.
Yeah, it's not.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that. Oh, yeah.
And the Cotton Bowl, too. I was really hoping Bo Nix was going to be there, but I may have to settle for Marvin Harrison Jr. if he plays.
That Bleacher Report money is hitting different, baby. I see you over there.
I gotta hit them up. Maybe I could meet Micah Parsons.
There you go. Meet your coworker.
Yeah, exactly.
Go get Scott on. Wake up. Me and Scott just being Grinches on Christmas, making y'all wake up enjoying the stream. All right, we're out of here. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Enjoy football. Tap into the content. Appreciate every last one of y'all. We love y'all. We out. Peace.